Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of the One of One Card Show. My name is Luke, and I am your host. And in this week's episode, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at the most undervalued WWE women in the trading card game. So let's begin. As we know, this week is the WWE Evolution 2025 Premium Live event. It's the second time in WWE history in which we are having an all women's premium live event. We haven't had a WWE Evolution event since 2018. It's something that they've teased about like basically every single year that we're going to get another one. We're going to get another one. Well, finally in July of 2025, we are getting that second WWE Evolution event. This time around with no Ronda Rousey. Now, uh, as we know, the WWE card hobby, as we've been looking at, is as hot as ever. Uh, everybody's pouring their money into basically just a few select superstars. Tiffany Stratton, Rhea Ripley, Julia, and others. People love to buy their cards. But I would argue that there are many women in the WWE card game that are just very, very undervalued. So, what we're going to be doing in today's episode is we're going to be taking a look at which women do I think, so which women superstars do I think are very undervalued. We're going to be looking at some of their career highlights as well as some of their big sales. Now, we have to understand, even though some of these women are undervalued, I'm saying they're undervalued overall as a whole in terms of their card values. They're going to have some high sales as we're going to see, but we're going to look at some examples of cards that I would say went for really, really good prices. Before we continue, though, let's make sure that we like and subscribe to the One of One Cards channel on YouTube. Be very greatly appreciated if you did that. And also check me out on my Instagram at One of One Cards as well. So let's begin. Uh, Before we continue, though, want to make sure we're going to look at it in no particular order. It's not like a ranked list or anything of that sort. It's just going to be the list of individuals who I think are undervalued. We're going to start off with Bailey. Now, Bailey is somebody, she was the first women's Grand Slam champion in WWE. She had the NXT, Raw, SmackDown, and Women's Tag Championship. She led the Damage Control faction for quite a bit of time and was the 2020 PWI Woman of the Year. She also had a huge match at WrestleMania 40 where she ended up winning the world title against Io Sky. She won the Royal Rumble in 2024, but I would argue that she is an undervalued superstar. Let's take a look. Now, when it comes to high sales, uh, most of Bailey's high sales connect to her Black Prisms. 2024 Black Prism, one of one, sold for $1,250 in August 2024. The Black Finite in that sold for $1,200 in October of 2024. And most recently, a big high sell from her came in February 2025 with the Royal Rumble Autographs Platinum One of One from the 2024 Flawless set. All of those are very, very nice looking cards, capturing some huge moments in Bailey's recent career. Now, why is she undervalued? Let's take a look at two examples right here. One on the lower end of things and one on the, slightly higher end of things. And out of 25 2023 Panini Immaculate memorabilia autographs from Bailey, recently sold for $43. An autograph patch card of Bailey in the thick immaculate card. It's an unbelievable deal for $43, I would say. And as we have repeatedly said, the kabooms from WWE superstars have gone up and up and up. But they've forgotten about Bailey, I guess. A Bailey Kaboom in a PSA 10, already graded, recently sold just a few months ago for $331. A lot of the Kaboom cards in other WWE superstars are selling for close to, 750 to $1,000 or more now, depending upon who it is. If you're getting to like a Becky Lynch or The Rock. So for Bailey at $331, I would say that might be somewhat of a deal considering her significance and popularity as a superstar. So now let's move on. Number two, we have Asuka. I'm ready for Asuka. But clearly, not a lot of people are ready for Asuka's undervalued stuff. So Asuka had a most dominant run in NXT when she first debuted in WWE back in the mid 2010s. She had 914 days of an undefeated streak. She won the NXT Women's Championship. She maybe unceremoniously lost at WrestleMania against Charlotte Flair after winning the Royal Rumble. I know a lot of people were concerned about that, but she also is a Grand Slam champion. She's won the Raw, the SmackDown, the NXT, and the Women's Tag Team titles. So she's had a hugely successful run in WWE, basically almost always being a champion every single year in her time with the company. Um, Now, some of the high sales. Again, high sales. Asuka has some people who spend a lot of money for her. Nobody's disputing that. 2024 Flawless Raw Logo Gem, one of one, platinum, $6,500 back in January of 2025. The impeccable gold bar, the logo bar, one of one, selling for $3,500 in November of 2022. So clearly, people are spending big bucks on Asuka cards. But again, if we want to take a look at some of the undervalued gems in Asuka, you can see over here the National Treasures colossal insert with the huge patch with great visual of Asuka selling for $46 in the gold out of 10 parallel. I think that might be a pretty good deal recently. And then in addition to that, you can see the out of five red refractor autograph, the image variation autograph, selling for $255. Now, again, 255 is kind of on the higher end of things. I'm not disputing that. But again, for someone who's as critical and as significant to the WWE roster as Asuka, that might be a pretty good deal. I think. Now, next up, we have Io Sky. Io Sky is the current WWE Women's World Champion. She's a former women's tag champion, Money in the Bank winner. She's a two-time women's tag champion with Dakota Kai. She is widely praised for her athleticism, had one of the best matches at the WrestleMania 41 weekend, like with her triple threat match with Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, like maybe the match of the weekend. I'm sure that's up for debate. But she's one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. And yet, one might argue that she's undervalued. So let's take a look. Now, obviously, again, high-end sales we're seeing over here. 2024 Flawless Raw Logo Gem one of one. $2,500 in April of 2025 is what that sold for. Isn't that pretty fascinating, by the way? The logo Gem one of one of Asuka selling for 6,500. Io Sky selling for 2,500. That's pretty fascinating. It's a huge difference in price to me. But we also see over here another huge card for Io Sky going for $1,790 back in November 2024. That's the Select Gold Vinyl Patch Auto. Now, I really think that patch is cool. I think that card is really cool. But the big thing for me is, again, the sticker auto on the autographs of Select and Prism are always something that do not draw me in. Why are you going for a sticker auto and a card that beautiful? Looks great, but the sticker just ruins it for me. That's just, again, my opinion, though. Let's take a look at some of the undervalued sales. Now, we can see over here 2024 Panini Prism in the Mojo Refractor or Mojo Prism, because again, Refractor is tops, Prism uh is Panini, selling for $19.50 for an out of 25 card. Now, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of the Mojo design. I think takes away a little bit from the card itself, but I really like that design quite a bit on of the visual and the design of Prism. In addition to that, you might say that this one right here, the gold Prism Select ringside out of 10 from 2024, going for just over $200 at $204.50, is a huge undervalue. I think the gold prisms of Select are going to be some of the more sought after parallels in just all of the Panini Prism, of all the Panini era of WWE cards. That's a great design. I think that card might be undervalued for EO Sky, even though obviously it is going for a little over $200 in raw. Next up, we have our first WWE Hall of Famer on the list, and that is Lita. Lita having a huge run in the Attitude Era, the Ruthless Aggression Era, and what came after, because she's still, making some presence now. Hasn't appeared much on WWE TV in the last year or so, but she is one of the biggest women's wrestlers in the history of WWE. She was the first woman to main event Raw in her match against Trish Stratus back in 2004, and she was a four-time women's champion and Hall of Famer. And she even won the tag titles with Becky Lynch recently. Um, High sale for her. This is very fascinating over here, is that she has a 2022 Impeccable Championship debut one of one card. That's a very, very nice looking one of one in the Impeccable set. It sold for $1,000 back in November 2022, but I saw that there was a most recent sale back in December of 2024 going for $3,000. So if you were the person who bought that and ended up flipping it just a few years later, you made yourself a pretty good profit right there. Congratulations. Um, why is she undervalued? Let's take a look. Here's some recent cards of Lita. 2023 select snapshot, I believe, yeah, 2023 select snapshots of Lita. I believe that's actually might be 2022, but going um, for $26. This is a gold insert of, I think it's a really nice looking insert, really great visual of Lita performing a move off the top rope. Um, $26 for the gold parallel. I think that's a deal, especially when you look at that card right there. Next up, a 2024 flawless in the diamond emerald out of five. You can see it's got the diamond there. It's like for $93 back in March of 2025. That's an out of five card in flawless, one of the most expensive WWE products ever. And you have a WWE legend like Lita selling for $93 in the out of five. That seems like a deal to me. Now, another Hall of Famer we have on the list, Trish Stratus, seven-time women's champion, regarded to be a pioneer of the women's division. All the accolades that we talk about just before about Lita, I think you could say the same thing. She's returned multiple times since her 2006 full-time retirement. It looks like she had a full-time return very recently. And she had a Hall of Fame induction in 2013. She even had a recent run just a couple of years ago in a feud with Becky Lynch and some others, where she had some great matches. Had a big steel cage match with Becky Lynch. Great matches that she has put on. She actually is challenging Tiffany Stratton for a world title this weekend at Evolution, which I'm sure that she's going to have a pretty good run. She was at the Elimination Chamber back in March in Toronto in a tag match. Again, she is putting on some great matches still, even in her return slash part time. Um, One of her big cards that sold was a 2023 Prism, Legendary Signatures Black One of One, going for $1,582 back in May of 2023. And what I found to be fascinating is this card was clearly graded shortly after. And in May of 2025, in a PSA 10, so they got it graded, it got the Gem Mint 10 grade, sold for $1,224. So it actually went down. It's kind of a surprise to me. Again, it's a black Prism one of one autograph. Now, of course, in Prism, the autographs are not necessarily as sought after as the just the base cards. But still, it kind of surprises me that the autograph ended up going down in price. That's kind of a surprise. Maybe it's the sticker autograph. I don't know. But if we want to take a look at some of the undervalued gems, you have a 2006 Topps Heritage Chrome of Trish Stratus selling for just $2. Again, if you're a collector, you don't want to break the bank on a Trish Stratus card, but you do want to get a Trish Stratus card itself, $2 for a Chrome card from 2006. That might not be the worst idea in the world to go after. And then I've talked about these before. The Panini Impeccable Logo Silver Bar cards. I've said before, these are like the most thick cards that you are ever going to see in your life. One might say that those are very undervalued. They're numbered out of 35 in the silver. Um, Going for $96. It's literally 1 ounce of silver that is a bar in that card. I would say that must be undervalued in my mind. I do have the Becky Lynch version of the 22 bar, and it's just a really cool thing to have in hand. And going for under $100, most recently sold in April of 2025. I would say that that must be undervalued on their end because the price of silver alone is in the, is like probably 30-ish dollars at the moment for 1 ounce, and you're getting that plus the card itself. Undervalued, one might say. Next up, I want to show, and this might be a preview of an upcoming episode, as we said. It might be something I might put together sometime soon. One of the more high-end cards of Lita and Trish Stratus is actually this dual auto. It's a platinum auto, one of one in immaculate. It sold recently back in January 2025 for $1,650 in January 2025. One thing before we continue is, and I'm not the most knowledgeable about it, so I'm not going to talk about it that much, but apparently there's a lot of issues going on right now with some Trish Stratus autograph cards. That might be something for you to look up, and we might be able to talk about it a little bit different time. With the signing of them, there's some questionable things going on where some of them have popped up on the internet where people have said that they I guess they maybe should have been signed and they weren't. There's a lot of weird things about that. We can maybe look at that as well at a later episode. So let's now continue. Number six is Becky Lynch. Now, I'm a Becky Lynch collector, and there's also some other big Becky Lynch collectors out there. Becky Lynch, in my opinion, is very undervalued when you factor in who she is and what she's done for the WWE brand. Um, Becky Lynch is the man back in 2018, 2019, revolutionized women's pro wrestling with her charisma and her promos, leading up to her WrestleMania main event triple threat match with Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey, where she won both the Raw and the SmackDown titles. Now, we know that there are some huge Becky Lynch collectors out there who pour quite a bit of money into Becky Lynch. Now, some of her huge sales include a 2022 Select Black Ringside one of one in a PSA 10, which sold for $7,500 back in November 2022. Now, these are completed sales on eBay. There's some others that have obviously been off eBay that have sold for a whole lot more. Uh, we also have a 2023 Chronicles Optic Gold Vinyl. Look at that card. That card is just as striking as you could get. Both of these cards are as striking as you could get in terms of the design. Phenomenal Black Prism one of one, and also phenomenal Gold Vinyl one of one for the Chronicles. That sold for $3,600 back in September 2024. Those of you who have those cards, seriously, they're phenomenal. I absolutely love them. But we also have to acknowledge that there are some Becky Lynch cards that I would say outside of the one of ones going for a whole lot less than they maybe should. So let's take a look. We can see over here a 2024 Prism WWE WrestleMania Moments of Becky Lynch. That's a phenomenal card. That's her holding both the Raw and the SmackDown Women's Championships out of 10 in this short print card going for $47. Again, you're capturing one of the biggest moments in WrestleMania history of Becky Lynch being the dual champion holding the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championship, going for $47 for that insert. I would say that's a pretty good deal. Next up, we have most recently selling a 2023 Select WWE Becky Lynch in the gold out of 10. That's the true gold out of 10 card in the premier level. Great design, great visual of Becky Lynch, selling for $137.50. I think that card, I think both of those cards are quite undervalued when you consider how important Becky Lynch is to the WWE card, WWE history and WWE card hobby. And now we have, in my opinion, maybe who might be the most undervalued superstar in WWE when it comes to women. Now, I said all the other people on this list, it was in no particular order, but I would say this next individual is maybe the most undervalued person in WWE when it comes to women's trading cards. And that is Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair in her WWE career has had huge amount of success. She's won the 2021 Royal Rumble. She headlined WrestleMania 37 night 1 defeating Sasha Banks in one of the greatest WrestleMania main event matches maybe ever in my opinion. She held the Raw Women's Championship for 420 days, the longest single reign in the modern era. She's a champion many times over in terms of the different belts that exist in WWE. She is somebody who I think is a phenomenal wrestler, and I think she's going to be quite involved in several different storylines coming up, particularly the Jade Naomi storyline. But we have some of her cards. Again, high-end cards. She's had some big sales. There are a lot of big high-end Bianca collectors out there. You can see the platinum diamond SmackDown logo gem card going for $2,283 and throw in that change with the 89 cents over there. Back in February 2025. Again, great card with the multiple gems. And in addition to that, you can see the 2023 Immaculate Championship runs platinum one of one auto going for $1,700 back in July of 2024. So while she's got some very high-end sales, as we can see over here, I would say that she's got some huge undervalued cards that have recently sold. Let's take a look. First up, we have a 2021 Finest card. It's the Black Refractor out of 10. But this is a little bit different because the person ended up getting this card graded. It's a Gem Mint 10 card, but they ended up getting it graded because with Auto Authentic, they ended up getting the card autographed by Bianca in a pen that's not supposed to be an autograph card, but they ended up getting it autographed. And I would say the Black Refractor with the white ink pen really stands out. I think that's a really great design for 2021 Finest. Finest, in my opinion, is more one of the more underrated sets all throughout the Topps brand. Um, but to get that graded with the auto authentic with the white ink pen, I think that really stands out. I think that's a great look. The Black Refractor with the white ink pen. I like it. It sold for $57. I think that's a deal. I'm actually really upset that I missed out on that one. And then we see over here The 4 out of 8 2022 Bianca Belair, the Immaculate 2022 Immaculate memorabilia autographs selling for right around $200. It's that out of eight, it's the acetate version of that card. I think that's a great design. I like it in the acetate. I might not like it as much compared to like the out of 10 gold. But again, I think that's a really great looking card with the design. I love like the swooshes and all that stuff. And the patch does look pretty good too. It's not, necessarily the most striking patch in the world, but I like that card. For selling for around $200, you might be able to make that argument that that is a pretty good deal. So we have just looked at a list of seven WWE superstars in the women's division who I think are very, very undervalued overall. Who do you think is most undervalued on this list? And who do you think I may have missed? Anybody you're saying to yourself, wow, Luke, you missed somebody, and I just cannot believe that you missed them. Once again, be sure to like and subscribe to the One of One Cards channel on both YouTube and Instagram. And you have a good day. And if you're going to plan on watching WWE Evolution 2025, enjoy.